Here we are at Coldwater Spring, a National Park Service unit on the outskirts of Minneapolis on a beautiful autumn day. And today we're going to be investigating the Minneapolis thermal groundwater anomaly. And here we are at the reservoir of Cold Spring. And this is a spring that's sacred to Native Americans and of great historical interest to European settlers because it was the site of a trading post, Camp Coldwater. And then later they built these walls that you see out in front of us, these limestone walls, to create pools, and the water was pumped to nearby Fort Snelling as a water source in the days before water, city water, because we're on the outskirts of Minneapolis. In the distance there, in the forward, you can see the old spring house. Now it used to have a roof on it. You just see the battlements there. But we're going to go over there and have a look at the spring itself, and you can see it right down there. It's coming out of the edge of that building through a pipe. Okay, well here we are up at the spring house, and as you can see, there's a notice here: do not drink, from the health department, because this water is not been treated in any way. So people still collect water here in jugs, though. It's the raw water craze that we hear so much about. It's kind of a turn on for them, and an indication, the good water for that is either it's not being put through a purification system. But here we are at the spring pipe to exit to the spring house. And the first order observations we can make is there's this incrustation here. This is what is known as tufa, or calcium carbonate. And it is deposited by the groundwater. And what it indicates here is that this water is flown through a limestone aquifer. And that would be here, the Flat Hill limestone, which underlies much of Minneapolis as bedrock. And as you see, as the water flows off there, supports a big community of watercress and countless amphipods out there, which is a great food for trout. Although, as far as I'm aware, there's no trout growing in these ponds nowadays. That was kind of a side hobby of the employees of the U.S. Bureau of Mines, and they had their Twin Cities facility here years ago, back in the 90s. And so we'll just get our trusty thermometer here and measure the temperature. So like I said, we want to measure the temperature of the water at the actual feeders. The groundwater is bubbling up, and so we have to go into this structure, which is a spring house. And if we jump down in here, okay, we can see that the water pouring out through the pipe, it's pouring out, so it's exiting there. We want to make sure that we're getting the absolute coldest temperature here. Okay, and it's known from studies that there are 3 springs here contributing to that one pipe. They're called ABC, and they have slightly different chemical characteristics and so on, but you can tell where I think water's bubbling up here, and especially back in the corner here. So I can put my thermometer in there, and we will try to get an accurate reading for today. Like I said, the highest temperature recorded here in the old studies in 2014 was 13 degrees centigrade. So we'll see how that compares here. So yeah, so there we got, not sure if you can see it, it's 14 degrees, so it's 14 degrees centigrade. So we are 1 degree above what was expected from that study. So Minneapolis groundwater is running a fever. It was before, and it's just gotten worse. Okay, so what does this all mean? Here we have a graph of the temperature versus time at Coldwater Spring. This covers a 2-year period from January of 2013 to the end of 2014. It was prepared as a result of an undergraduate study at the University of Minnesota. Very nice job, in my opinion. And there are certain things you can see on this graph. For example, so looking at the temperature here in centigrade or Celsius degrees, the French emigre scientist Joseph Nicolet first took the temperature of Coldwater Spring in 1836. And it is the baseline temperature for Minneapolis groundwater. And he found it to be 7.5 degrees Fahrenheit, winter or summer. Okay. So it wasn't measured again for many years, the temperature. And so when this study was done, you'll notice that these red diamonds are the temperature curve in this case. It runs within an envelope from 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. And you'll notice that it's substantially elevated above Nicolet's baseline temperature already. Just doesn't get that cold anymore. And I also see it's taken on kind of an anti-seasonal trend. That is to say, it's kind of the water temperature is slightly out of phase with the season. So in summer you get winter water, and vice versa. Okay. So that's, we assume the temperature is just going to be that way in perpetuity, but when we measured the temperature again in November of 2025, so 11 years after this study is over, here we are. So here would be to represent the temperature we took today at 14 degrees centigrade. So it has escaped that envelope. And over the course of a decade, Minneapolis groundwater has warmed up a full Celsius degree. And that is just amazing. And again, it's probably due to urban heat island effects, the effects of the heating of pavements and basements. Pavements in summer, warming up the underlying groundwater, basements in winter, with boiler rooms and all that kind of thing, steam heat and all that. And this water is coming from quite some distance from the direction of downtown Minneapolis, so it does represent, it is influenced by that factor. So I guess the next question here is that if the groundwater here at Coldwater Spring has warmed up that much in a decade, and we're kind of on the outskirts of Minneapolis, not anywhere away from the center of things, what's happened with the city itself? I ran a long-term research project on that. It's for another video, but I detected the strongest signal of anthropogenic warming in Minnesota, bar none, at Sheik's Cave under downtown Minneapolis. It is a full departure of 20 degrees Fahrenheit from the expected temperature. So it's supposed to be 45 degrees Fahrenheit or 7.5 centigrade. And it's actually 66 degrees Fahrenheit or 19 degrees centigrade. So this is a something that I'll talk about elsewhere.